Hello and welcome to Blind Chess. We're going to play some chess and we're going to listen to a little of Tony here and in the background. Give us some background noise. And we're up to, whoops, here on chess.com. I am... The first goal was to hit 1500. We're at 1499 because I just went on another bit of a streak.
We'll get into that. We got
I did really good where I didn't resign when I probably normally might have, and ended up getting draws and wins in some of those games, especially like back here.
And some other really strange
so
things
you
going
see,
on, my friends.
pretty good. On the way up.
About our president from another religion.
So here we go. Let's do this. Let's see if we can break 1500 right now.
Stuff we've been seeing of recent. We were talking about how 30 commanders
it's go time.
said that we're entering into Armageddon, and this all ties into this whole thing with the leader of Iran, the leader, of course, of Israel, and much more. And we're also got a couple other things to get into as well. Where's my mouse?
Okay, there it is.
Let's keep going here. We'll start with Bob Iger.
On E4.
Apparently,
on E6.
All right, we got a French.
On
stepping
D4.
down. That's
On
kind of
D5.
interesting. Check
Knight
this out.
D2.
Exceptional creativity
On
and
C5.
groundbreaking technology achievement is what has always set Disney apart. And I can't
Knight
think of
I don't think this
G3.
has anything to do with him stepping
Knight
down.
C6.
Talks about apparently technology and robots.
a better example than these little...
Wow. Okay, so let's see if there is actually an official story here. This is from Dom Luker here. Let's see what we
Pawn
have
captures
here.
Couldn't take.
Yeah, apparently tomorrow.
Pawn C3.
Disney CEO Bob Iger is stepping down from his role, with reports indicating his final day as CEO is
Knight
tomorrow.
F6.
That's good. I mean, he's been destroying the company the last,
Bishop D3.
I don't know, 4 years at least. Literally losing billions and billions of dollars. I wonder why. I don't know. Maybe making everything woke wasn't exactly the smartest idea in the world. I don't know. That might have something to do with it. Also, of course, a lot of people apparently don't even know what an actor is anymore. Like Ben Stiller, they're like, who is this guy? Apparently just standing around trying to sell his new soda.
I don't have a good feeling about my opening here.
Coming up to him.
I'm pretty rusty on this stuff, so like the French and the Sicilian I'm particularly rusty on. I'm pretty good against the Caro-Kann. I'm good against traditional openings. I'm good against most like hyper-modern, like Fianchetto the Bishop. I usually just seize the center and do pretty alright usually.
Really not putting so much stock
But
in these actors anymore.
the French
Here he is,
and
putting out another cringe video right here. Check this
the
out.
Sicilian are ones that I get to middle games in pretty good shape, but then I don't know what to do.
Oh my goodness.
So we're learning. We're going to review the
Pawn
games.
captures
Oh, it's
D4.
sweet. What is that from? Like, well, he was in some fashion show movie, right? I can't even remember what that was called. I think that's what that face is from. That fashion movie.
Bishop
the hell it's called.
D6.
I don't even remember the name. I don't watch that stuff, man. It was like 10 years ago anyway.
Castles Kingside.
Maybe some of you guys remember what that movie is called. Let's see. I can pull it up real quick, real easily. Ben Stiller fashion movie.
On H3.
Oh, Zoolander. I was
See how
thinking
this goes.
Zootopia. I'm like, it's not Zootopia. Obviously not Zootopia. That movie just came out as well. But, I mean, it's Zoolander, whatever it's called. I mean, yeah, same exact face right there.
Rook E8.
Look at that face. Of course, you got a little bit of gray hair now, dude. Just a little bit of gray hair. A little bit more than me, that's for sure. Apparently,
Knight
no
B3.
one cares about him anymore. We have Ben Stiller, of course, saying he's not Ben Stiller. Also, while he's trying to actually sell his product, no one comes up to him. And then we got Tom Hanks, apparently, with coffee now.
No.
You're Ben Stiller?
No, I'm just the guy giving the...
You're Ben Stiller.
I'm not. They have 30 calories, only 5 or 7 grams of sugar. I'm not Ben Stiller, but...
I mean, goodness gracious, the drink literally has your name Stiller on it. And it's obviously Ben Stiller's soda. And you look literally like him. I think they might recognize you. I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
I already just want to
thing.
be in the
Of course, we
review
have
part,
Also, Tom Hanks. He's going to
but
show up
hopefully we
also
can
at your
draw or
local
win
Walmart.
and
to sell you some coffee.
not lose rating points. But I'm at 14.99 right now, which is really good. I was down to like being all blind and stuff last year. I tried to play and I couldn't see the board even. I still can't see, but I kind of know what's there. I can barely see enough, and I can remember like. Huh. This guy's taking a long time. That's good. Usually it's me that's running low on time.
It's all for good causes, you guys. Yeah, because these celebrities do.
But I dropped as low as like 1,300 at one point. I was like in the 1,200s.
This is Carl Vernon's channel.
When normally I would be up in the
it's just
17 to
hilarious.
1900s.
Obviously, he was the one
So,
mocking Trump
at this
becoming
time
president.
control, you
He
know,
moved to
5 minute,
Greece,
5 second.
Right. Now
So-
he's selling coffee to give to veterans.
Um,
Obviously, he's been in
but
a lot
now
of movies that
I can
are
kind of see
war-based, like
what's going
We
on
see
here.
six.
Private Ryan and others.
Okay.
So it's just kind of interesting. If we're just getting started, we have a woman saying that she doesn't need men. Tons of women, 100K people calling men useless. We'll get into that. Sure, that's awesome. We have Palantir Alex Karp losing his mind again. We're going to get into that.
Bishop
We're going to get into
D2.
this Armageddon prophecy with Iran. What in the world? Now we actually understand some of the weird stuff being said. We'll get into all that. First, I'm going to mention food supply. 25-year shelf life. They have lots of options available. You'll first land on this page if you click the link below. It says 5 weeks for $277, but you can easily just go to the top of the page, click this button right here, and it will go to all the other options available. Lots of other things you can buy. Link is in the description. This book, of course, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. How to build a cellar. Do all those things you need to know how to do in case you're living in the apocalypse or whatever.
I can't wait till this game is
Which
over.
It seems like could very well be the case, considering the fact they think our president's fulfilling a prophecy, and it is bizarre. It's nothing you heard before, because I've never heard it before.
Because I don't want to
literally
get to
never
this
heard this
position
before,
again. I need to
And I
find
research this stuff
Knight
all the time.
B4.
So you're
good
gonna definitely wanna see
preparation
this. It's
against.
kinda weird. It's actually not
Bishop
even went viral
B1.
on X yet. It just came out. So we'll get into that at the tail end of the video.
Bishop
We have
D7.
here women are apparently celebrating how they hate men.
Pawn
In this
A3.
concert with Sabrina Carpenter.
But there's a cuter word for it. I know.
Knight C6.
So it's just talking about men saying they're useless. In her concert, apparently this is what's trending right now. 100K people calling men useless at a concert. Although, of course, she has bodyguards that are men. She obviously uses men as props, as you'll see in this image here, which is pretty, as you can imagine, not the best thing in the world.
Bishop
Yeah,
C3.
so this is the kind of stuff she's putting out. All the men that set up her whole, you know, studio layout and concert. Of course, you don't need men at all. Just make fun of them.
I'm basically
you know?
giving up
This
this
is the kind of stuff
square.
we're seeing
but-
happening. It's just kind of hilarious. I saw some really funny tweets underneath it as well.
And so this night is
At
looking
any rate, you
grim.
get the idea. So getting on to Alex Karp of Palantir saying that
Knight
us
E4.
conspiracy theorists describing
Right.
him as being bad or stupid. Oh, let's just play this.
You may hate this, but there's one person protecting your right to be a conspiracy theorist that actually has a seat at the table, and that person is me. You may not want to hear that truth, but it is fucking true. And maybe do a little more reading before you pontificate on your.
It's just kind of funny. This guy is the one who couldn't sit still in his chair. He can't sit
Bishop
still here. He's
C2.
on something. It seems like he's on something all the time. Does this look like a guy you would want to trust for, surveillance and security for your country? Not really. Not really. I don't think so. It seems like something's a little off there. And, of course, they just came out with this today. They unleashed their newest AI. Apparently, it takes people out. Surveillance system. Wow.
Rook E7.
With the Department of War. Let's check this out.
Queen D3.
Palantir's software as a service product that we are deploying across the entire department. As you can see, it's not just
Bishop
one
F5.
data feed, it's multiple. And instead of having 8 or 9 systems for the.
So just think about this, man.
If this doesn't work, I'm
use this
toast.
for good, you can use
So,
this for evil.
we'll
the
see.
fact is, this guy Alex Karp has used this in the past against people like you and I in
Bishop
Europe.
G6.
In America, he hasn't
Knight
done
captures
it.
G6.
In America, he's supposedly on
Pawn
our side
captures
now.
G6.
Supposedly, he switched sides, and now he's going after illegal immigrants and stuff. But so many years ago, he was literally using it against people like you and I in Europe. So that's the person we're talking about, and he's also apparently on stuff all the time because he can't even sit still in his chair. Here we go. Here's an example. Palantir CEO admits the shareholders of Palantir is here to disrupt, and when it's necessary, scare enemies, and on occasion, take them out. What the hell, dude?
I don't know here.
As much as I am, let's not talk
That's
to analysts
nothing.
about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading.
Bro, this is the guy running our security for a country, bro. And look at this guy. He can't even sit still. What the hell is he on?
Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say?
We're doing it. We're doing it.
We're doing
And
it.
I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as
Oh,
I
yeah.
am.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of.
Oh my goodness, this guy's nuts. He's literally running stuff. I can't believe it. Henry, you got that. I don't know what you guys think about that. It doesn't look very reassuring to me about our future. I don't, especially if that guy's
Can't find a
involved.
good move
We
here.
have also apparently Bibby not showing up for the third. This is actually a military council meeting. The other one was like sort of the joint. I can't remember what the other one was called specifically.
No,
but it
let's
was some
just
sort
do
of,
this.
council meeting as well. This one's a little bit more
Yeah.
official.
Knight D2.
3 of them in a row he has not showed up to.
Knight
Cool.
captures D2.
And all they've been doing instead is putting out like TikTok type videos on X saying, hey, look, I'm alive.
Queen captures
I went
D2.
and got coffee. I just met up with Huckabee. That's apparently the latest one is he went and met up with Huckabee. Here he is just doing some strolling in the mountains near the cafe or something. I don't know what this is exactly.
Ring wait a second.
This guy has a pretty high rating.
Disappears at 10.
Rook A8.
Okay, so if I go here, he takes. I take. Then he takes. Shit.
Yep. Yep. And here's the thing. Look, so what's really bizarre about this is this fits into the prophecy as well, because the idea was
Rook FE1.
and it's really weird because obviously we usually talk about prophecy with regards to
But then I get a check
We don't
here
usually talk about
after if he
prophecy
tries
from
to take
other
here,
religions
take,
like
take,
Islam
take,
or Judaism,
and then
compared to
I take this
Christianity,
pawn and I have
right?
my
Queen
But
D8.
apparently they had
queen
prophecies
d8.
or
Okay, so let's
predictions
go ahead and
from these other two religions,
whack that guy.
Rook captures
and weird
E7.
things are happening that don't really tie into
Rook
them,
E1.
like they wanted them to.
Rook captures
'cause
E1 check.
Bibi was supposed to be around when
captures
the new
E1.
Messiah comes,
Queen E7.
and maybe he isn't around.
Queen
I don't
captures
know.
E7.
Maybe he's in a hospital. I don't know. They
Bishop
had,
captures
of course,
E7.
him meet up with Huckabee allegedly today, but this
Bishop
also has
B3.
become
Cool.
another video that appears to be maybe AI as well. I don't know what the heck's going on here.
Bishop
It's
F6.
getting really weird. Let me play this
Bishop
one now.
captures D5.
asked me to come and make sure you were okay.
Knight captures D4.
Okay, he's got a check here.
I'm alive.
If I take,
That, and I'm happy to see that. But he wanted to make sure because you guys get along too well.
I know, and we shake hands with 5 fingers in each hand, but I have to.
So what's interesting is they took pictures later, and they were wearing completely different ties.
Let's go for the draw.
They also have this
Bishop
weird
captures D4.
thing here they show on video where it
Bishop
looks
captures
like
B7.
Mike Huckabee gets
Bishop
a
captures
reverse
B2.
facelift in the video.
wait a
Which is
minute.
kind of strange. I
Pawn
don't think this is
A4.
natural. This looks kind of like a screw up
Pawn
on
A5.
AI. See, look
King
at his head.
F1.
So what ends up happening is his
Pawn
skin actually
F5.
comes down. At first I didn't really get it, but then I started to realize what was going on.
King E2. King F7.
See how his forehead gets much longer when he starts laughing? That shouldn't happen. Your hair should not move backwards when you start to... It's not like it pulls the skin from the back of your head forward when you wrinkle your forehead with your eyebrows. Your eyebrows go up, not your Okay, your eyebrows move, not your head. Okay, that's the...
You offering a draw?
So his eyebrows are supposed to be what goes down.
What does it mean?
Rather than his head going backwards. You see
Cool.
how that works?
All right, let's analyze.
Oh my goodness, what's going on here? Apparently he's getting a reverse facelift in real time by AI. I guess that's what's going on.
Dude, we both played like
So
92%.
I'm guessing it's probably AI again.
That's pretty darn good.
Apparently AI systems are saying this is the 4th video that's AI. They just keep putting these
It's
out.
tough to win if you're
and
both
saying
playing
he's
right
still alive,
moves.
yet
So
he is not at any of the
it's pretty good.
actual
Let's see what we got here, though.
Pawn
This is fair enough, but then that,
Pawn D4.
They just keep
and
putting
then
out these weird
Knight D2.
videos.
E takes.
And
Pawn
what's weird is
C5.
that's going to actually
Or knight
play into
G,
these
F3.
prophecies I talk about later in a
Knight G,
little,
F3.
very little bit here. We're going to go over a couple other things real quick.
Knight C6.
We have so we have
Pawn
well, actually,
captures
maybe
D5.
Okay, we'll just do this first. So we have this woman here who claims to be a Protestant apparently, and she's
Right.
arguing with
Okay.
Andrew
I remember
Wilson.
going over this
She
the other
has this
day.
bizarre argument, almost like an atheistic argument.
Bishop
I guess God
B5.
was
What does
really bad
C3
when he
give
ordered
you?
the Hebrews to
Pawn
kill
C3.
infants.
Kind
So,
of weak.
Though.
well, you believe in it literally
Pawn
too.
So-
How do you
captures
deal with that?
D5.
Looks like Bishop
the idea
B5
is
is like super good right
The
here.
idea here is
Bishop
Best,
B5.
So
best
in
move probably.
warfare, it's okay to kill infants.
It can be justified, yes.
No, see, this is what the problem here is Andrew
Okay.
is taking the wrong direction with this argument.
And then,
Okay, what's really going on here is they're Amalekites. They're
so I
not
got to remember
actually
that
human.
move.
They're Amalekites, and
And
they
what if he
were
goes
Nephilim
there?
giants.
E7 check.
Okay, they're Nephilim giants. They're
Bishop
Amalekites.
E2, right?
It's essentially like Chucky.
Bishop E2.
Okay, I mean it's kind of a bad comparison, but it's like Chucky. Okay, it's like, is that a real baby? It's kind of like in that movie, The Passion.
Interesting.
Where the demon lady's holding the weird, ugly-looking baby that looks like a demon. Same thing. Okay, it's literally the same thing. They were
Bishop
giant.
E2.
They're half human, half fallen angel. They're not actually human. That's the entire
Oops.
point. And that's how you can easily
Bishop
make the
E2.
argument.
Because
it's very obvious.
that's not
Knight
that big a
captures
deal.
D4.
Actually scriptural, but no one seems to know this, which is utterly amazing because they
Pawn
removed the
captures D4.
Apocrypha, they removed the
Castles
books,
kingside.
historical books surrounding
That's
the Bible.
pretty bad.
They
Like these
literally say
pawns
this
aren't that
everywhere.
great.
So
Major
at
targets.
any rate, I also
That's
made
good.
a tweet about how he's been driven nuts by
Bishop
this.
E2.
Look at his face at the end of it. He's like so annoyed with this woman. It's funny, man.
Knight F6.
But
Castles
at any rate,
kingside.
so you got that. Then you got
Queen C7.
apparently Mark Driscoll, if you know who he is, kind of a well-known
Rookie one.
pastor in the Protestant
Bishop E7.
side, who's
C3?
kind of well known for having a
takes
lot of
C5.
controversies in the past. Apparently requiring people
Pawn
that are under,
captures
of course,
C5.
age to sign NDAs, which is what I would call
Bishop
pretty
captures
crazy.
C5.
Why would you have someone underage, signing something like this? They're obviously not able to understand what they're signing. They're not even an adult. How can they sign a contract?
Knight
It's so
B3.
ridiculous.
Well, this
right?
is definitely a much better
At any
position
rate, so you
as
got
far
that.
as
Getting
freedom
over
of movement
to
goes.
Kind of the prophecy thing. This is sort of leading into
Bishop
it. You have
E7.
Joe Rogan here talking
Bishop
about
G5.
how
Got a
30
castle.
commanders in the
Castles
U.S.
kingside.
military were telling their troops that the Iran war was part
Pawn
of God's
C3.
plan and it's
I like that
unfolded.
position a lot better. So, okay,
Check
we'll
this
go
out.
for something like that next time. Let's play another one.
See if you can find that in there.
Are
Did you
we?
say that?
We might be
No,
at
it's not
1500
that
because of that
particular.
draw. Because that guy was like
Someone who knows-
1680 something.
Oh yeah, a bunch of people.
What are we
There's
at?
actually like a lawsuit. The
Yeah, because
religious freedom law.
you risk like the whole self-fulfilling prophecy.
1503. Dude, we got 4 points for drawing that guy. Sweet.
What machines? What weapons do you control?
We're broke 1500. All right, so now we just gotta chug up a
What
bit.
I was really curious why
Get
this
there.
was being said by these
Knight
30
C6.
commanders to their
Knight
soldiers
F3.
that
Knight F6.
they were saying
Pawn
Trump was
D3.
anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon. This is literally what he said, one of the commanders. And I'm like, what?
Bishop
C5.
What's going on here, dude?
Pawn C3.
Okay. So this is where
Pawn
they're trying to
D6.
tie in Christian interpretations of Revelation and prophecy to apparently Judaic
Knight BD2.
prophecies. Because here we have a rabbi
Pawn
talking
A6.
about his understanding of how it's
Bishop
supposed to
B3.
play out. And so you start to see a pattern here. Check this out.
Videos of Jewish rabbis, Jewish scholars, and Jewish politicians talking about President Trump. Take a look
Castle's
at this
King
clip.
side.
Current non-Jewish Messiah was chosen to be of service to the Jewish people and the Jewish Messiah. President Trump's right ear was grazed in a symbolic gesture of Exodus 21:6, where the Torah states that a servant who wants to remain with his master needs to have his right ear pierced.
See, that's an indebted servant. One put in servitude because they owed a debt, or perhaps they were from a war where they lost. So he's basically looking at Trump like he's just some sort of servant that's underneath
Pawn
him.
Trump was
H6.
designated as God's servant and anointed one, just like Cyrus the
But then they exalt him like he's a non-Jewish Messiah, like Cyrus.
2,400 years ago. We have clarified in several videos that the absolute deadline for the redemption is by the end of the Jewish year 5787, which corresponds to October 2nd,
Rook
2027.
E1.
And I've shown how that's actually an inaccurate calendar. That is AM3
Bishop
calendar,
E6.
which they've literally erased AM1 calendar from existence. You can see it still in the Encyclopedia Britannica. I've talked about it. We're actually in the
Knight
year,
F1.
I think it's 7,555 right now. We're in the year 7555. We're not in the year 5786 or whatever he says it is. That actually is a modified one from the Hebrew Masoretic, where the Masoretes modified the genealogy
A7.
so that they could say Jesus was not of the order of Melchizedek,
Knight G3.
because the Masoretes didn't believe in Jesus. So this is all
Right.
some weird ninja theology, all over the place, even including the common Christian viewpoint on eschatology for Revelation is basically black belt theology. And when you start looking into it in detail, looking at the ancient history surrounding texts, looking at the fact that John quoted Sibylline oracles in Revelation, and the Sibylline oracles indicate that during the time of the fall of the Roman Empire will be when the Antichrist comes, which is when I believe it happened, which my dream also said. When I did a ton of research on this, I realized there was a Pope 666 literally at that time. No one knows about it. Pope 6 is the third. I don't want to get into the whole thing here, but it's interesting. They're taking this eschatology from this corrupted understanding of Scripture and using it to try to claim that a Messiah is coming soon, but it's not the Messiah you and I are thinking of, per se, or mostly, well, obviously per se, or definitely per se. So then you have Christians, like I think Huckabee would be considered a Christian, although he's very, very much, the Zion type, right? So
I'm not finding a good move, and I gotta go.
go with the whole left behind.
It's time to move, man.
We got to bring Third Temple forward, and of course that was part of what Pete Hegseth was saying as well. We need to rebuild the Third Temple, which makes no sense. If you're a Christian, why would you build the Third Temple so the Antichrist could do something? Does that make it? Are you going to help the Antichrist? Does that make sense to you? If you even believe this left behind pre-trib theology, why would you want to help the Antichrist? Doesn't that sound insane? Apparently that's what some of these people think. Oh, we need to build a Third Temple so we can bring the Antichrist, so we can bring Jesus back. So it's literally like someone's manipulating this theology so you believe it, and in getting you to do stuff that's wrong on top of that. Right? And I find this whole thing very, very interesting, because this is like some other eschatology being hijacked and put into the church, and that's why people believe this.
Queen
At any
E7.
rate,
I think this is a
what I'm
bad
getting
move,
at.
but
You
we're gonna
also
do it
have
anyway.
Tim Dillon
Because Queen
talking
D7
about how
doesn't
there
work.
could
Bishop
be,
Okay,
C2.
cool.
World
Cool.
War III, and honestly, it's kind of interesting because, like I was saying, the Iranian leader
Knight
there
G4.
was seen as sort of like a prophet leading
E2.
forward into like Muslim prophecy, and also Bibi himself is sort of been called out by some of their prophets as being the one who will meet up with the Messiah. So, interestingly now, at least one of them is gone or dead, and the other one we're not sure what's going on. So, this is kind of weird. But at any rate, that's my video. Kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.
Pawn F5. Pawn H3. Pawn F4. Knight H5.
Take.
Knight F6. Knight captures F6 check. Queen captures F6. Pawn D4.
All right.
Pawn G5. Pawn D5.
Oh no, wait. Oh fudge. Gosh.
Pawn G4. Pawn captures G4. Pawn captures C6.
Oh my god.
Pawn captures C6. King F1. King H8. King E1. Rook G8.
Dude, I really hosed this up. Can't believe it.
King D2.
Right, okay.
Rook A D8. Bishop B3.
Oh god. All right. So that was a goof. Man, I can't believe I got forked.
Bishop C4. Knight F6. Bishop C5. Pawn D6. Knight B D2. Pawn A6. Knight B D2. Pawn A6. Bishop B3. Castles kingside. Pawn H6. Rook E1. Bishop E6.
Tracking pretty close to book here.
Knight F1.
Bishop takes B3. Queen D7.
Bishop A7. Knight F1. Bishop A7. Knight G3.
Rook E8. Yeah, that one's feeling right. D5 is playable. Right. Rook E8. What I play? Queen E7.
Queen E7.
Not good.
Knight G3.
Huh. Where's my mouse? Okay, there it is.
Rook E8.
Man, bummer. So now I'm back down to 1496. That's all right. Huh. Look at this
On
line.
H3. Bishop captures B3. Queen captures
What's wrong?
B3.
What's going on here?
Queen D7. Queen captures B7. Rook EB8.
What?
Queen captures A6.
Ah, okay,
Bishop
cool.
captures F2 check.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So he can't take the pawn.
Queen
I
captures
knew,
B7.
I kind of knew he couldn't, but I
Queen
didn't.
D7.
Can't see why until there you go. All right, let's find something else to listen to here. Oh my God. All right, let's listen to DEF CON. See what these guys have.
Starting this Sunday, you after hours.
Come on, bring it back.
Says Iran has been after Trump since 2020.
Come on.
After he ordered
Okay, let's play another one.
This isn't a new threat.
That was going okay, except for I let myself get forked at the end there. Let my bishop and knight get forked. I should not have done that.
And if anybody don't know who owns the gray zone, that's Max Blumenthal, Sidney Blumenthal's son, DC insider, highly Democrat, and a Trump hater through and through. They produce and I don't
All right, here we go.
say it like this, but
Here we
anti-Israel
are.
rhetoric. And
Pawn
that's,
E4.
I really don't give a shit if it's anti-Israel or pro-Israel.
All right, we got the
But
Tarot
they
Khan.
are the Zionists rule the world and
Knight
control the
F3.
world.
I don't play the D4. I played
Pawn
this
D5.
because a lot of times,
So I don't know if this was ideological,
especially
if
against
this was
these
something that
captures
his
E4.
lesser,
kind of-
Knight captures
By the
E4.
way,
you're
this is how I
gonna
look
get
at
into
this.
some
I'm
pretty
not saying
decent
that
spots
this is
here.
Queen
true
E2.
or the case, but when I
Knight
start to
captures
see that his
E4.
wife is directly with Max
Queen
Blumenthal,
captures
and you start
E4.
to look at that political
Knight
dynasty
D7.
connection, and you start to see
Pawn
connections
D4.
to the Democrat
Queen
deep state
F4.
and various different internal intelligence infrastructures, what I begin to think about is follow the wives. And I begin to think about how wives are used as handlers for various people in political or power positions, and how the wives utilize various different
Bishop
emotional
G4.
mechanisms and training that
Bishop
they receive to
G4.
basically manipulate these people into different ideological preferences.
Now, with that, let me jump in here just to make sure everybody's up to speed. I know a lot of people got home from work; they've been working all day, and they're like, "What the hell are you guys talking about with Joe Kent?" I had the post up
Knight
on the
E5.
screen. Let me read it to you guys for those of
You
you
don't
who
have
are
a
listening
pin.
and not watching. So this morning, Joe Kent puts, "After much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran pose no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor serving under POTUS and D&I Gabbard and leading the professionals at NCTC. May God bless America. So that'll bring you guys up to speed, and I'll share some counterpoints, but I want Josh to go ahead and finish this thought.
Well, let's just bring this up here. Pull that down. I'm going to pull this up. And there you go. Donald Trump, just a little while ago on True Social, post this. It's a Joe Kent post from 1/8/2020. Real Donald Trump, we should not sit and
Bishop
wait for the
H5.
next attack, wipe Iran's ballistic capabilities out, and get our troops out of Iraq. They are only targets now. No U.S. WIA KIA is a tribute to the professionalism of our military and intel professionals, not Iranian restraint. In other words, Joe Kent has been 100% against Israel and that we need to go in and take out Israel since the beginning. So now there's a transition.
Iran,
Right, with Iran, sorry. There's a transition in the psychological nature of Joe Kent.
Should we play this?
More recently. Obviously, today people are going
And
to see
then,
this. And
you know,
we see that he's most likely going to be on Tucker relatively soon. And
okay, whatever.
there's some other correlations. I'm not going to draw those up until after you and I talk about a few different things. But there's some other correlations of people that he's potentially associating with. And you got to wonder who's really behind some of these people. And I will say that who is the enemy that is being decimated the most right now? And I'll tell you, it's not Iran, it's not Russia, it's not China. But when you start to understand this one enemy that we consider to be the old guard has an old school intelligence apparatus that is integrated around the world. They operate through all various different types of media organizations, political organizations, think tanks, NGOs, NPOs, or infrastructure is
Let's
within
go for
various
it.
different governments, and they can get to anybody at any time.
Bishop
Here's the thing,
G6.
is they know how to manipulate people. They know how to tie into your emotions and completely constrict your ideological
On H4.
preference to a different viewpoint. And they do that with their handlers. They do that with females because they're the ones that can actually drive the most emotional charging change within a man. So I just want to put that out there because I think that this has something much deeper to it than Joe Kent just had a change of heart on Iran.
Let me ask you this, and that's my little one that got excited, folks. So my apologies if that came through the microphone. Is if we rewind the clock back to 1775, 1776, you know, we get in this fight with a country that's pretty powerful, and we declare independence from that. Are you kind of hinting, Josh, that maybe we never really fully got our independence and we're actually in that fight, that real
Yeah, I'm tempting him with this pawn here.
in modern times?
If he goes here,
when
then
you
we
look-
go
when you look
here.
Historically, back to the American Revolution, there's a lot of interesting things in historical context that
Pawn
people should look
E6.
at. Number one is, what did we really separate from in the Revolutionary War? We
Pawn
separated from
H5.
the king and the bank. That's primarily what we separated from. But, you know, many people will bring in the East India Company. They'll bring this into context that the East India Company was, you know, running England at that time. And that's actually not true. There's
He can go
context
take,
there, it's not true. The first
and I
flag
push here,
of
then he
the United
plays
States when it formed after the American
here,
Revolution was actually the flag of
then
East
I
India.
take, and he
Alexander Hamilton
takes,
was only 19 years old when the Declaration
and
of
my
Independence was signed. Now,
piece
why is
is
that interesting?
pinned.
Because Alexander Hamilton is like, that's like one of our kids going in there and joining the American Revolution and becoming one of the top leaders. It makes no sense. So the question is who did he know? Who was his connections, and why did they
Bishop
need him?
E4.
Right? Well, he became one of the first secretaries of Treasury in 1792, and that was when the Commerce Act come out. Now, did you
Pawn
know
F3.
that the Commerce Act was funded by a private organization? $10 million into the Treasury in 1792 came from a private organization. Just so happens, Lord Hamilton of Scotland, who sat on the board of directors of the East India Company, was Alexander Hamilton's uncle. And the East India Company funded the first $10 million for the United States of America. So when you start to look at kind of what infrastructure was behind the American Revolution, it was those that wanted to separate away from the crown, from the monarchy, from the centralization of the banking dynasties and the relationship with the crown. Now, expand out, you get the War of 1812.
Man, he's got this check here too. Gotta watch out.
Andrew Jackson.
So I gotta keep this pawn back.
You get Abraham Lincoln.
Bishop captures
Okay,
C2.
cool. Now let's play this.
Pawn G5.
Let's see if he finds that.
Within American politics, the best time, and Trump actually talks.
What
about
else is he
this,
gonna
basically
find?
Between Grant and Roosevelt. Grant and Roosevelt.
Now I
before
don't have
Wilson
that check.
Came in 13. This is probably the golden age of America. The reason being is this is when the Industrial Revolution kicked off. This is when the railroads were built. This was the time of the least amount of British influence. The British Empire then kind of consolidated and started to expand eastward within Europe. Because you had to follow the Byzantine Empire happening at the same time. So it took a lot of attention away from us and what we were doing. And then what happened is they refocused and they utilized large American financial systems. The Morgans and the Mellons and so forth to basically implement the Federal Reserve Act. Now, there's a lot of resistance by American families towards the Federal Reserve Act. I've talked about this extensively, and I find it kind of an interesting story that when Teddy Roosevelt, do you know how Teddy Roosevelt actually became president?
Remind me.
Well, so Teddy Roosevelt came in, and now I'm going to forget the president's name.
Bishop D6.
Yeah, he
Taft
finds
was
it.
after Roosevelt, so it was Taft, Roosevelt, and somebody else. Garfield was shot in Buffalo, New York. Shot and killed. And Teddy Roosevelt was his vice president. So this is really interesting. This is what turn of the century, right? And Garfield's killed in Buffalo, New York. And Roosevelt's in Washington, D.C. and becomes
Pawn
president.
captures
gets inaugurated.
F6.
Well, an hour after Garfield's killed, Teddy Roosevelt talks about how John Jacob Astor from the Astor family sends him a letter by horseback from New York City to Washington, D.C., congratulating him on his rise up to the presidency. Huh? There's no phones, guys. He could have sent a telegraph, but it took 24 hours to get to him. There's no phones. How did John Jacob Astor know that? But Teddy Roosevelt comes in, and we had a lot of good things happen during this time. Well, Roosevelt leaves, and Taft comes in, I think he was the Secretary of Commerce during that time, right? And Taft comes in, and Taft was, kind of a Jeffersonian Republican type, but he starts to basically undo everything that Teddy Roosevelt was doing. And Teddy Roosevelt was in Africa during this time, and he came back and he's like, "What are you doing, Howard?" And Howard's like, "Dude, you're not president anymore. I am. I can do what I want. Let me implement my own policy change." And Teddy Roosevelt and Taft kind of had this falling out where he's like, "No, dude, I'm going to run against you." You got to remember, they're in the same party. So Teddy Roosevelt comes back and he forms a third party called the Bull Moose Party. And he runs against Taft. So you have a three-party race going into the 1912 election. Woodrow Wilson, Howard Taft, Teddy Roosevelt. Well, guess what happens? It's the same thing with George Bush, Ross Perot, is that you have the votes from Teddy Roosevelt take away from Taft, and Woodrow Wilson gets elected by a minority because the Republican votes were split.
I don't know what to play here. This is a tough
What happens
position.
when Woodrow Wilson comes in? Well, about a year
dude,
before this, not even 6
dying.
months before this, one man who supported financially and politically Teddy Roosevelt, him and another man who supported him, American elite,
Knight
Guggenheim
captures
and Astor,
F7.
both die on the Titanic when J.P. Morgan, James Pierpont Morgan, sent them on the maiden voyage over to London to come back to the United States. And out of 12 people, only 2 showed up, Guggenheim and Astor, and they both died. And they were the 2 people that were dissenting against the creation of the Federal
King
Reserve.
captures F7.
And then when Wilson came in, well, sure enough, the Federal Reserve Act came in, and the banking dynasties actually took over. Now, I find this interesting as well, and I'm not going to get into the whole conspiratorial aspect, what happened with the Federal Reserve. 1933 is the most important date with the Federal Reserve for people out there. But understand that when you start talking about central banking, all roads lead to London. Okay, all roads lead back to the Rothschild dynasties. They lead back to other banking dynasties that have been basically consumed within this kind of construct of international finance. Now, do you want to know one family that was actually very predominant during that time, a banking family?
I do.
The Mellon family. The
That's
Mellon family is
very-
a yeah.
That's
the
a
Mellon
very
family.
interesting name. Would that be the same Mellon? I won't get there because I know you're taking us there.
Well, so when people say that Israel lobby controls Donald Trump, right? And I say, well, then who's his biggest political campaign donors? And they'll say Miriam Adelson.
Queen
But no,
H4.
actually, Marion Adelson only donated roughly about 18% of Donald Trump's contributions in 2024. Do you know who had the highest amount of contributions to Donald Trump in his 2024 election?
I'm going to guess that it starts with an M.
Bishop B4 check.
Elon Musk. Who came
Bishop
in
D2.
second?
Oh, I should have just walked
Bishop
it.
captures D2 check.
It's okay, attack that
Timothy
guy.
Queen captures D2.
BNY.
Don't ask me any more questions because I'm
Bishop
batting
F5.
100 right now, bro.
Right,
Like,
right.
don't take that
So
from
Timothy
me, dude.
Mellon. So two of the top people that donated to Donald Trump, who, if you want to say that money has power, these are the two people, is a banking dynasty from the United States of America. Now, where am I going with this? What I'm trying to show you is that there's people in the United States of America that are very wealthy and powerful that want to save the
Bishop
United States
D3.
of America. They want to get back to the
Queen
original
A5
track
check.
of what this country was
King
founded
E3.
upon. And I believe that the Mellon family is one of them. It's Carnegie Mellon, right? And listen, Dale Carnegie, whether you study him
Bishop
historically or
captures
not,
D3.
was a phenomenal
King captures
human being
D3.
in the context of how he operated his mind and how he built up from nothing. Charles
Queen
Schwab is another
B5
one
check.
historically we look into.
King
that
E3.
is just phenomenal American. But these are old, well, besides Elon Musk. But
Queen
the Mellon
captures
family goes
B2.
way, way back, and they are
Rook
embedded in the
AB1.
infrastructure. They're legacy Americans, right?
Queen
They've been here
C3
since
check.
the 1700s.
King
And
F2.
this is one of the
Queen
prominent
D3.
families that actually supports and
Rook
finances
captures
Donald Trump
B7
privately
check.
right now. Now, ask yourself, why would they put up hundreds of millions of dollars to support Donald Trump? And then look what he's doing. He's undermining
King
the
E8.
central banking system. He is decimating the infrastructure that the World Bank, the IMF, had implemented around the world.
Queen
within
captures
third world
F6.
countries, raping them of interest through loaned dollars.
Queen
He is
D2 check.
dismantling the New Silk Road, also known as the Belt and Roads Initiative, that China had been doing for the last 40 years, that comes about through their 100-year plan to basically control all economics, all politics, and all
King
social
F1.
construct in the world over the next
Queen
100
D3
years.
check.
And that was heavily financed by who? European financiers, European banks. They went into London, the
King
Rothschild
F2.
Sassoon family, and they
Queen
funded
D2
the
check.
Industrial Revolution for Mao within China. People like George Soros. Okay?
King F1.
So when you start to look at this, is you have one side is a banking war. You have a
Queen D1 check.
under the Democrats, Obama, so
King
forth, in
F2.
the United States of America. What you had is massive transferences of wealth that
Queen
moved
D2 check.
upwards. It moved from the middle class upwards into the top
Okay.
1%. And that centralization was being done
All
for very,
right.
very specific
That was a
reasons.
weird game. Let's
Feeding
see
into
what's
the
going on
idea
there.
that we've been talking about with universal basic income, that you will own nothing. Klaus Schwab, 2014
Knight
book,
F3.
The Fourth Industrial Revolution.
Knight C3.
Of what their
Knight
ideals
F6.
were for the future. And the
Queen
various
E2.
different institutions that they've
Knight
aligned and
captures
set
E4.
up along with this
here.
actually
Captures
validate
E4.
what I'm
Yeah,
talking
knight E5
about.
is
So you
good.
say, well, what institutions? Well, you know,
Queen
the World
F4.
the World Economic
Bishop
Forum. You might
G4.
not necessarily know what they're talking
Knight
about behind
E5.
closed doors. What you can do is
Bishop
watch the people
H5.
that go in there
G4
and
is
watch
good.
those
Pawn G4.
organizations that those
You can
people are
play
members of.
G5.
The Trilateral Commission, the Council of Foreign Relations, the
Bishop
Channing House.
G6.
All of these are nothing more
So I'm
than
playing the right
establishment
moves.
organizations that were created after World War II at the
Pawn
beginning of what we
E6.
consider to be the New World Order,
Pawn
or
H5.
right now the
Bishop
post-World
E4.
Order, but also understanding it to be what's called the rules-based international order. And the
What's that?
rules-based
F?
international order
Oh, okay.
modeled themselves off of how
Pawn
basically the
F3.
British Empire
Bishop
actually
captures
ran.
C2.
So how did it do this?
Pawn
You had the
G5.
political
Bishop D6.
representation of the world at this middle level. Above this, you had think tanks, NGOs,
Well,
NPOs,
let's see
and various
G2.
Pawn
different
captures
advisory and
F6.
consultory services.
Knight
And
captures
what would happen
F7.
is
So that
they
was
would
not
put
good.
their deep
I-
state
I was
F6.
looking at Queen D2 because, okay, so that's the only good move.
level of
Come back here.
Queen D2.
That
Yeah, what the
advisory
hell am I
level
thinking?
would
That
go out
is
and they would
beautiful.
advise governments around the
Because
world
if
on
he
policy,
plays
on
back,
regulation, and on
Bishop
laws.
F5.
then I
And
just
then
play
they would
back.
lobby them through their
Knight
commerce
G4.
departments to go out there and implement regulation, policies,
Knight
and
C4.
laws. And then
Knight
over the
G4.
decades,
And then I'm
they started
up.
taking those
Oh,
same
man.
people, Rome Council for Relations, Trilateral Commission, Carlisle Group, these types of things, and started implementing them directly in
Dang it.
government.
So I totally
Not
missed an
only that, is when
opportunity
they
there.
left, maybe,
That's too
maybe they're a
bad.
member of the Council of Foreign Relations, but now they're over at or
Excuse
maybe
me.
they're a member of the Council of Foreign Relations and they're at Lloyd's of London over in the UK.
All right, that's good to
and now
know.
they come out and they're joining Parliament.
I should have
Like
just played
Mark
Queen to
Carney
D2.
was
Why
over
didn't
at
I
the
add
World
that
Bank,
up right?
and now he's over at the Prime Minister of Canada.
All right.
Well, why is that? Because these are globalist figureheads that are working for
Practicing,
the banks
practicing.
of London. They're working for what Hugh referred to as the old guard. The
Pawn
old
E4.
dynastical
Pawn E5.
European families, the old
Knight
European
F3.
aristocrats, the
Knight
London
C6.
bankers, the global
Bishop
cabal,
C4.
the Satanists, however
Knight
you want to talk
F6.
about it. And so what
Pawn
Donald Trump
D3.
has been doing
Bishop
is he's
C5.
regaining
Castles
power back
kingside.
over the world while dismantling
Pawn
their
D6.
systems at the same time. This is why he had 14 months of basically renegotiating the world, going through all these various different countries, renegotiating the United States' trade deficit against them. Do you know why Donald Trump was renegotiating the trade deficit? Why we had a deficit over the last 30 years since NAFTA and GATT was actually put in? Do you understand this part?
Break it down for me, and then I want to show you something because I think something you said might have, if somebody's listening, might have triggered a post, and I want to bring something up on the screen.
So think about it like this. NAFTA and GATT start basically offshoring all manufacturing and processing all around the world. Well, what begins to happen to the United States economy? It begins to shrink, right? But we're still printing trillions and trillions of dollars. So you have increasing inflation.
On
The dollar
H3.
is growing in growth,
That is a
but
mistake.
having
Knight
less
A5.
of it spent. So you have the debasement of the U.S. dollar slowly over time, but it's used as the international settlement currency. So what happened over time is that the U.S. dollar becomes less and less valuable, so they have to print more and more of it to substantiate the debt. Well,
Knight
the
BD2.
London bankers started making less and less profitability, so they
Knight
realized
captures
that
C4.
one thing that they could do, the central banks, one thing that they could do is that they could flip the switch, is they could put the United States of America into a deficit, and if the United States of America is in a trade deficit, then if everything is equal at the end of the day, if everything negates to zero, and one is at a surplus and one is at a deficit, that surplus means profitability for somebody. And that's how they were keeping themselves afloat for so long, as the United States was always in a trade deficit along with them, so they were always making money at the back end of the surplus. Well, Donald Trump renegotiated that over the last 14 months and brought that back down to either neutral or the United States in the positive. And what did that do? It completely
Not sure what to do here, but
dismantled
that'll do
the
for now.
international banking
That'll do big.
cartel, because they no longer could facilitate
That'll
business
do.
transactions through
On
the
C3.
old models and the old
Okay.
systems. Not only that, is the infrastructure that they've invested in over the last 20 years is also being dismantled. China being one of the primaries.
Might be able to
All
get
of the
away with
various
that, but I should
ports,
probably
the
just go like
Panama
that.
lease deal, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, all the infrastructure, Iran, all the infrastructure throughout all of northern Africa, all the things that China's been doing, building out their new Silk Road, Trump is dismantling systematically. Now, why is he doing that? Because it's not an attack on Venezuela. It's not an attack on
It's more
Iran.
active. Let's do
It is
that.
a dismantling of the old guard system,
Well,
which is
you
the
know,
remnants
he
of
can't
the British
push.
Empire that
Well, I
went
guess he
from
could
a
push that.
governmental
But
system, an
93.
empirical system,
all right,
into an
93.
institutional system that ruled and dominated the world, what we call the New World Order, and it is going away. And Donald Trump is to thank for that. And that's the reason that everything that we're watching happening right now
Let's
is
go.
happening.
King
And that's
Saddle
foot
up
out
there.
one door, and the foot into the
Castle
next door
up.
is where we'll go next.
Before we go to that next door, and while you take a breath, shout out to our Broadway gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands Media. Shout out to Jody IVRN gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands Media, and shout out to Seminole 10. Actually, that's a Rumble rant, so we'll be reading that one at the end of the show. And shout out Saint Masshole, who gifted 10 subscriptions to Badlands Media. I want to get to those only because those disappear, folks, and I want to make sure we give love to those people. So while you're giving us this lesson
On
on what's
D4.
going on, Donald Trump went and posted this now. Probably
Pawn
about-
captures D4.
Yes.
Bishop B6.
Statehood exclamation, 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 President
On E5.
DJT. This would be at 10:57 p.m. Eastern Time or 22:57 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll bring up 10:57 first because I already have that on the board for you. This one reads April 6, 2018. You can tell me if there's any context. Look at the comments. What the fuck are we looking at here? Trafficking in plain sight. That's regarding Ray Chandler. That post from back then would have been Twitter. And then it reads, report to FBI/DOJ. Watch what happens. Spotlight. Subject deviation. Risk and end. And if we go to military time at 22:57, that brings us to 2 links. One from the New York Times, one from Fox. The more you know. The one from New York Times is regarding Rod Rosenstein and the 25th Amendment. And the one from Fox is regarding Rosa Plans, another tape release next week report.
I don't think there's any relevance to it. I can tell you exactly what he's talking about right now. And it goes right here. Wow, Venezuela defeated Italy tonight 4-2 in the WBC baseball semifinal. They are looking really great. Good things are happening to Venezuela lately. I wonder what this magic is all about. Statehood, number 51, anyone. Now, what did we talk about Sunday? We talked about Cuba. We talked about Venezuela. We talked about Northern Canada and Greenland.
Queen captures
we said
D1.
that either U.S. territories or even potentially
Rook
statehood
captures D1.
for these various different countries, because it brings in a whole new idea. And this is actually part of the conversation we're going to get into. And
Knight
if
E4.
DJT is watching, man, I will take over.
Am I okay here?
Me and Alpha, we will be badass at it. So just letting you know, if you need us, sir, we're here. We're happy to serve. We'll put podcasting on hold while we go work and serve our country.
You want some legit operations against counterterrorism?
I got some ideas.
Make the phone ring. Sir.
Pawn
Make the
B3.
phone ring.
Okay, so I'm talking about the end of the
Rook
British
A8.
Empire and all of this stuff. So let's
Bishop
go back into
A3.
that part, because they've controlled.
Oh, I should have
one
played my
thing
other rook.
Primarily around the world. And do you know what the one? Well, they've controlled two things of one thing. Do you know what this primarily has been?
Shoot it.
Resource and access to resources. So various different trade corridors and accessibility to those corridors.
Rook
and then
FE8.
they controlled the resources themselves. I mean, we talked about this Sunday night with BP, British Petroleum, installing the Shah, right? And then the Shah realizing he's getting ripped off and basically trying to throw Britain out. And then they overthrow the Shah again. And Khomeini, who's over in France, in exile, gets flown back by British intelligence back into Iran, who takes over and shuts off all the Western world. But BP is then the brokers that deal in the back end, because he accepted their deal, and they move underneath various different sanctions through Oman and start
Pawn
flowing
G4.
oil out of Iran back at their profitability rates through BP. I mean, British Petroleum and other British oil companies own a massive amount of oil in Iraq. You want to know the two biggest corporate owners of oil in Iraq?
Fire.
Britain and China.
Reference the Britain one. Do you want to give a specific company name? If you're
I
trying
think
to
one's KNG,
King
and the other
G2.
one is BP. But this is what I want people to begin to see. The other night, do you remember what I said? Did I show you this post that I put on the other night? I don't know if this was Sunday night or not. Do you remember this post? Game, set, match.
No.
NATO was given the opportunity to save face with Trump. They said no. My speculation is the U.S. will be leaving NATO relatively soon, right?
Knight
Well,
C3.
what just happened with this?
Rook F1.
Let me pull this up. Where the hell is it?
Because I'm looking for something I want to show you too, because I think it flows into all this. It's something me and the Colonel talked about last year, and there's relevance now.
And I said I'll just leave this right here. And what is this? Donald Trump today on Truth Social. The United States have been informed by most of our NATO allies that they do not want to get involved with our military operation against the terrorist regime of Iran in the Middle East. This, despite the fact that almost every country strongly agreed with what we were doing and that Iran cannot in any way, shape, or form be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. I am not surprised by their action. However, because I considered NATO, where we spend hundreds of billions of dollars per year protecting those same countries to be a one-way street, we will protect them, but they will do nothing for us in particular in a time of need. Fortunately, we have decimated Iran's military. Their navy is gone. Their air force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar is gone. And perhaps most importantly, their leaders
Rook D3.
at virtually every level are gone, never to threaten us or our Middle Eastern allies or the world again, because of the fact that we have had such military success. We no longer need or desire the NATO countries' assistance.
Knight C2.
We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia, and South Korea. In fact, speaking as President of the United States of America, the most powerful country anywhere in the world, we do not need the help of anyone. Thank you for your attention on this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And that's a massive signifier. It's validating
Bishop
what we talked about
D5.
Sunday night, how Trump is most likely going to position this to NATO. NATO's going to decline, and he's going to
Knight
utilize
E1.
this as a methodology to get out of NATO. If you remember in the national defense strategy that they put out in 2026, Trump actually, that it was actually mentioned in there that there's going to be a 5-year review of NATO's usefulness to the United
Bishop
States of
captures
America
F3 check.
in alignment
Oh,
with
sweet.
their national
G3.
security doctrine and their national defense doctrine. And
Bishop E2
basically what
check.
Trump is confirming right
King
here
G2.
is NATO's a one-way street.
Bishop
They want us to
captures
always
F1
jump
check.
in. If Russia attacks
King
them, then we
captures
got Article
F1.
5. But when Iran's shooting ballistic missiles in the U.S. bases, they want nothing to do with us. They don't want to help one bit. And
Rook D2.
I'm telling you right now, everybody I see,
Bishop
everybody on
B4.
social media, this is what we're saying about everybody on social media, bro. Is like everybody on social media is like,
Rook
Donald
captures
Trump's
F2
doing
check.
so well in Iran that he's asking for help around the world. No, you
King G1.
schmucks. He's not asking
Rook
for
F4
help.
check.
He's putting these countries on the spot to show that they won't stand
Is that
up
just a
in the
massacre or
time
what?
of need. He's putting them out
Rook
there and
captures
showing the
B4.
United States of America and the people around the world.
I'm up
that, hey,
9 pows.
when I need the help
Right
of
on.
NATO,
Total
when I need the
massacre.
help of Australia
Why
or
did he
South
rush?
Korea,
He must
guess
think,
what?
oh, he's under time
They don't
control.
rise.
He's under time.
They're
He
not
thought I
around.
was
They
under
don't
time
wanna
pressure.
help us.
But
So
that
let me ask you
5-second
this.
increment
Why are
means
we
that I at least
subsidizing
have
their
a.
defense? Why are
Well,
we
cool.
paying hundreds of
1503.
billions hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries for defense when they don't help us? Now, people want to complain about $3 billion a year since 2013 to Israel, but guess what? I know how the scheme works.
Pawn E4.
$3 billion goes into Israel. $3
Knight
billion comes
F3.
out of Israel back into U.S.
Bishop
defense
C4.
infrastructure, and weapons flow back to
Knight
Israel.
F6.
I get that. But
Bishop
guess what? Israel will
C5.
stand up when we
Castles
need them, won't
kingside. Pawn
they? I'm just
H3.
saying, look, I
Knight
don't like
A5.
Benjamin Netanyahu. I do
Knight
not like
BD2.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
So it doesn't even recommend
Knight
knight
A5.
Did
A5, but
atrocious
Pawn
crimes
H3.
in Gaza.
Knight A5.
All right, I'm not a supporter of him. I'm not a supporter of the political centers in Israel. But I'm telling you that's why Donald Trump likes Israel, because when he says,
because he's
hey,
got this little
I need your
sneakaboo
help,
here.
guess what
Bishop
Israel's gonna
B5 check.
do? They're going to help.
Pawn
him.
C6.
That's what he
Pawn
wants in an ally.
D4.
And if you notice, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar,
Pawn captures D4.
nothing. Nobody wants
Bishop
to help
E2.
Donald Trump. And I think that's very, very telling. And that's what this post was all about. But it also signifies right back at it. Did you see where Mertz and Macron and Steimer came out and they said that we were not notified
Pawn
at
captures
all? We
D4.
found out the same way everybody else did
Bishop
on the
D3.
news when the U.S. and Israel began striking Iran. Now, why didn't he tell their allies?
Why
this?
this?
Is why he didn't tell
Pawn
their
B5.
allies. This is why
So
he
weird,
didn't
huh?
tell them.
They would have
That's
sabotaged it.
What do we make
they
of all
would've
this?
sabotaged it. Moshtaba Khomeini, for anybody out there who doesn't know, Moshtaba Khomeini, which is Ali Khomeini's son, the Ayatollah's son, the new Ayatollah. By the way, there's a psyop going on with this. I'll explain it here in a
And
second.
before you get too far that way, I want to bring us back to the oil.
What about like that?
Well, this
Bishop
is about the
B6.
oil. So number one is
Terrible, huh? Oh, because my
Khomeini
knight's
died
trapped.
at-
Oh, I
Khomeini
gotcha.
came in.
This knight has
Bishop
nowhere to
D3.
go.
When they came in, basically the Iranian oil money never went to the people of Iran. It went to the Grand Supreme Leader, the
Pawn
Ayatollah, who had a
B5.
net worth of over $48 billion. His
Pawn
son,
B3.
Moshe he lived all
What
throughout
about
Europe.
this?
He lived in Russia,
Bishop B6.
and he has a real estate empire. His real estate empire is primarily financed by two Israeli
Rook E1.
bankers out of Israel.
Castles
Now,
kingside.
start to think about that for a second. The majority of their money moves through the
Bishop
Isle of
G5.
Man through various different shell banking organizations owned by London banking cartels. His billions of dollars are held by
Pawn
UK
H6.
banks, London banks.
Bishop
So let me-
He's
H4.
financed by Israel.
So let me inject this into the conversation. because I think you can probably weave this in, and if not, then
Knight
maybe
B7.
we can bring the Colonel on one of these DEF CONs to elaborate on this. So, Colonel tags me in this.
Pawn A4.
He goes, my thought exactly. This is Colonel Towner Watkins, if you guys aren't familiar with her. Great follow, phenomenal information. I consider her the authority when
Pawn
it comes
captures
to
A4.
Gladio. My thought exactly. And yes, we did an entire show on Out
Rook
Warrior,
captures A4.
on Robert Sensei. This was very interesting, folks. And his ties to the CIA, state, DEA, Iran-Contra network.
Pawn C5.
Sensei's wife
What about just
looks
making
like
it-
she was admin support for a network of front companies as
Knight
well. Now, what are we
BD2.
talking about here? Because this is her.
This is not good, huh?
This post comes
Rook E8.
from Dawson's Field. So does this mean that Robert Sensei has flipped?
Bishop B5.
35-year-old case sees action just a few months after
is
the
terrible,
bankers
huh?
at BCCI who laundered the money for Iran-Contra arms sales
Rook
get
E6.
busted for trying to work with the cartels. And let me zoom in on these two posts real
Bishop
quick.
C4.
I'll go with this one first. His accomplice, Robert Sensei, who served as CIA's
Rook
money
E8.
launderer at BCCI during the Iran-Contra scandal. Sensei
Pawn
was the
E5.
banker laundering the funds. We
Pawn
recently
captures
learned that
E5.
Epstein was connected to laundering those same funds. When we go to the next one,
Knight
yep,
E4.
Sensei was working for CIA,
Dang.
BCCI, the Kuwaitis, the Republican National Committee, and probably several other
Knight
players.
D6.
I haven't been able to verify
Pawn
everything
captures
in this
E5.
article, but it's an interesting
E8.
read. Now, there's a lot
Rook
to
captures
this
A4.
Robert Sensei guy. So I'll just give
Knight
real
C5.
quick, just when we were researching some of again, this case is over
Rook
30
captures
years
D4.
old.
Oh,
None
yeah.
of the articles wanted to mention this guy's name. Like, you had to
Knight
go
E6.
dig deep into it. They kept bringing up another player. But again,
Knight
bringing this
C5.
to the royal family, the
Bishop
Kuwaiti
H4.
royal family, BCCI,
Bishop B6.
and stuff. I wanted to see
Pawn
if there was any
captures
relevance
D4.
to this and the timing of this with
Pawn
what we're talking about
C6.
right now with the oil.
Bishop
Well,
B5 check.
Why don't you give us
Pawn
an
H3.
overview of Iran-Contra?
Pawn D6.
And then I will take it from
Pawn
that interview.
H3.
Fire off, because I don't want to misstate it, man. So fire off.
Okay, so what we're talking about, you just said Epstein
Castle's
connection,
king
right?
side.
Correct.
So think about it as we're
Pawn
funding
D6.
against terrorism, and we're flowing
Pawn
weapons
H3.
in there. So when we start to look at who were the weapons coming from, okay? So the CIA was utilizing arms
H6.
traffickers to smuggle weapons in to people who were perceived to be our
Pawn
enemies.
C3.
Now, here's an interesting part. Jeffrey Epstein worked
Bishop
for
B6.
Bear Stearns, and then eventually worked in tangent with another company known
Bishop
as
B5.
BCCI Bank, which obviously came over federal grand jury indictments in the 1990s.
Pawn A6.
This is where Sensei actually
Computer
worked.
stuff.
Now, what
All
was
right. I don't know what to make of all that. We'll come back to it.
They
Let's
were
play
the
one
same
more.
exact
Let's see if
thing.
we
They
can
were
get out ahead of
financial
this.
intermediaries
We're in the
in the system.
1500s, though.
When you
We're
start to
at
look at
1503.
apparatus, we
We're hanging
always
tough.
Say the name CIA, right?
We're
CIA,
up 4 points in this session.
When we're talking about
4
the CIA
elos.
people, we're not talking about Langley. We're not talking about the people over the CIA, the operations department. We're not talking about the special agents. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is a guy that gets embedded in Latin America and Cuba in the 1970s, and he begins getting funded through money that is coming through proxy networks, and he begins building a whole intelligence apparatus network out that is outside of the scope of his original primary operation, but he's still answering to people above him who are giving him direction and taking cuts of the money.
Is it my turn?
That's what we're talking about, deep state intelligence apparatus. How do you move
Not yet.
trillions
We're
of
still going
dollars
up here. I
under
can
the
kind of
radar
see
of
that.
governments, intelligence agencies, and militaries around the world, tax-free, without anybody noticing, and then take that trillions of dollars and reinvest it into
Okay, last
global
game.
infrastructure? How do you do that? This is what they were doing. And how did you
Pawn
do that?
E4.
You need financial intermediaries between
Pawn
the dark
E5.
money channels. So you would need
Knight
to move the
F3.
money through various different Caribbean
Knight
banks.
C6.
Oh, well, London banks, Caribbean proxy
Bishop
banks, right?
C4.
London banks, and then they would move it into financial
Knight
instruments.
F6.
One of the top arms smugglers in the 1980s was
Pawn
a guy by the
D3.
name of Aden Khashoggi. Aden Khashoggi was one of the top clients of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, you guys might remember
Bishop
the name
C5.
Aden Khashoggi, because you remember during Trump's first
Pawn
term,
C3.
the reporter from was it MSNBC or CNN or Al Jazeera or whatever he was,
On
that he
D6.
got chopped up into 1-inch pieces, and he was
By
completely
MBS.
conscious during the whole time by MBS, and he got to watch the 1-inch cubes, and they fed him himself while he was still conscious and alive.
Castles king
Khashoggi,
side.
yeah, that was Aden Khashoggi's nephew. Okay,
Pawn
but
H6.
Khashoggis were very powerful within the Saudi Arabia in that area. But
Knight BD2.
he was an arms smuggler. That's how he made all of his money. And
Castles
he
king
provided
side.
the arms for both sides of Iran-Contra. So how do they move that money in the intelligence circuits? Well, this is how they were moving the money. People like Sensei, people like Jeffrey Epstein were the ones that would take in these dark
Rookie
monies
one.
for these shady banks in the Caribbean or
Pawn
offshore.
A6.
They would pull it into investments. They would put it into pension funds. They would put it into the gold and silver. They put it into the stocks
Knight
and
F1.
ETFs. And then
Oh,
what
I
happens
was
is
supposed
that
to move my
pays a dividend.
bishop.
That dividend pays back out to legitimate bank accounts of various people on the investment infrastructure, and everybody gets paid out. And now that money is completely laundered and clean. And this is what went on for a very, very long time. It probably still
Knight
goes on
G4.
today. So what does that have to do with oil? Well, in the
Well,
context...
and just to remember, a lot of this arms trafficking,
Pawn
you know,
D4.
just so people, a lot of this made its way into the hands of
Pawn
Hezbollah.
captures
A lot of this made
D4.
its hands into the people
Pawn
in Nicaragua.
captures
Like a
D4.
lot of the places and areas where we kind of see action now, were involved in the places where a lot of these arms made it to back then as well.
Well, the playbook is old as day. I mean, John McCain and running guns and weapons, right? Guns and missile systems and money through Libya in Africa all the way up into Syria, right? What was going on there? They were arming various different Libyan
Bishop
rebel
B4.
groups that
Bishop
eventually
D2.
joined forces with ISIS and ISIL, right?
Bishop captures
This
D2.
eventually overthrew Gaddafi.
Queen captures
This is what
D2.
Benghazi was all about, because you had the ambassador call Hillary Clinton in the middle of the night saying, hey, there's something going on here. We discovered something. That 2 days later, he's dead. And what did they discover? They discovered an
Pawn
arms
B5.
running and currency running operation that was going directly through the U.S. Embassy in Libya
Bishop
that was being
B3.
ran and operated by the intelligence networks. And Ambassador Chris Stevens died because of that, and Hillary Clinton was the one running the show. But it really wasn't Hillary Clinton running the show. Hillary Clinton was simply an
Knight
intermediary
E7.
with power who could order and dictate what was going on. It was people like her national security advisor or chief of staff at the time, Jake Sullivan, who were actually running the show. And you can actually find the ties directly back to Jake Sullivan in Libya, Benghazi during this time frame. I mean, and this is how John McCain funded all of ISIS and ISIL and got them all built up out of Syria. And what just happened recently? What, we liberated Syria from all of that? We cut the constraints of Syria? Now, going back into the context of oil. Oil is an energy.
Rook AC1.
Energy is very, very scarce on this planet. We might say that oil is renewable energy. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't think that matters right now.
Bishop E6.
What matters is that we produce this amount of energy. So I want people to start to begin to see this, Alpha. Right now, we produce and have this amount of energy right now per year. And in 5 years, we're going to need this much. That's the problem. This is the problem
Bishop
that Donald
C2.
Trump's trying to solve right now. Is that globally, we produce as a planet this amount of energy. And in 5 years, we're going to have to produce this amount of energy. My finger's pointing
Knight
up
G6.
because I can't even reach the magnitudes higher that I need to go. If I was going to raise this limit from floor level to here, this is about 3.5 feet, okay? Now, you would have to raise this up about 6,000 to 7,000 feet
D5.
to bring about the percentage increase.
Ooh, that leaves a big hole there.
That
Bishop
the American
C8.
people are
That's
not gonna do.
weak.
That
Ah,
the
man,
American,
I shouldn't
well,
have done
here's
that.
the thing: is American people are paying for it right now. They are subsidizing electric bills and energy costs throughout our country right now through the average payer. This is why people are seeing their bills go up to $1,200-$1,500 because of data center utilization because of artificial
Knight
intelligence.
E3.
That's
Now-
how Trump signed
Yeah,
that
that's one way to
executive
go, I
order
guess.
that was tracking about 2 weeks ago, where he says you guys are going to carry the costs of the additional requirement here, and you guys wasn't us; it was these companies.
So I want to go into the Bibi Netanyahu stuff, but I want to finish this part out. what does Trump
Man,
keep on saying?
I should have thought about that a little more.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But now he's saying he's going to go in and do what? He's going to take the uranium. Remember, we were doing Iranian uranium, right? Remember, Putin came out the other day and said, we will go in and we will take all of Iran's uranium. And Trump said, no. And now Trump today came out and said, we're going to probably send a special operations team in to grab Iran's uranium. So, number one is you have oil. Number two is you have energy corridor, the Straits of Hormuz. And number three, you have uranium.
Rook
all
captures
three
E3.
things deal primarily with one thing, energy.
Energy.
Now, why does Trump...
Just real quick, we're gonna hint at why that energy is so important, right? Like not
Bishop
just technology,
G4.
but a certain thing within technology that gives everybody the EBGBs, right?
Yeah, like, and I can get into that part right here. So I wrote a blog,
Knight
or not a
D4.
blog, I just wrote a post today, and I asked the question, why does Trump want Iranian uranium? What are your thoughts? Why does Trump want Iranian uranium?
Part of it makes me wonder is if we're going to give back some signature code that's going to
95.
show that some of it might even be ours.
Well,
So-
most of it is ours, I think. I think a lot of it came from the Uranium One scandal.
Yeah, so because I'm curious for that one, and two, I mean he's not going to let China get their hands on it. It's going to be us. We
Or
need
Russia.
the power, or Russia.
Pawn
we
B3.
need the power. We need to be ahead of all of them when it comes to that power.
So, what is one thing that the Department of Energy, the Trump administration, the DOW have been pushing over the last 12 months? They just launched a brand new one. They put it on a plane and sent it off to a military base, didn't they?
Yeah, the reactors.
Micro nuclear reactors. You have Google, Amazon, and
Queen
Microsoft
F6.
investing in commercial nuclear power, buying up 3 Mile Island. Well, what do you need if you're going to run a nuclear reactor? Uranium? Well, guess what? The amount of uranium mined each year on this planet is minuscule in comparison to the need 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. If we start looking out, if we zoom out, we start to look at data centers that need micronuclear
On
reactors, or
H3.
nuclear power plants that are coming up to run data centers. Now you need 10 to 20 to 50x of the uranium
Bishop
production
H5.
a year. Well, guess what? There's no place on the planet that can do that right now. So, if you're Donald Trump and you're looking at the fruits of war, okay,
Knight F5.
Iran's got uranium. They don't need it because they're not going to get a bomb. Let's just go in and secure that uranium. At least we'll have more than everybody else. Okay, great. He goes and secures that. He secures the Straits of Hormuz, which is an energy corridor. And then he's also going to go in and take
Bishop
the oil.
G6.
Right? He said, I'm going to take Iranian oil. And then we're going to give the money, the profits back to the Iranian people. That's huge. But also, what happened? And this is also indicative of what we were talking about before.
Pawn F4.
Now, the Strait of Hormuz is really, really important here. Because that whole prior conversation that we were talking about with the old guard situation, I want you to... People need to see... I don't know people saw this, okay? And I know I keep on saying people need to see this, and I hope that people are
Bishop
following.
captures F5.
So when Iran closed the Straits of
Pawn
Hormuz,
captures E5.
they didn't, like, bring down a drawbridge and a great gate and put a gate up to the Strait of Hormuz and say, it's closed, you can't go through here, okay? There's nothing blocking the Strait of Hormuz. It was simply Iran.
Did I
coming
snooker
out
him?
with what's known as the
I think I got him here.
Iran Terror Premium, and saying the straits are closed. Anybody goes through, we're going to bomb the ship.
I think I just
Now,
want a
why
piece.
does that matter for the ships? Because the ship, because the ships have to have insurance to transit on maritime authority, which means that in order to go through the Straits of Hormuz, their insurance carrier has got to cover it. Now, do you know who the largest insurance carrier of maritime transport is in the world? With over 85%.
1512. We're
of
just
all
chugging.
seaborne
Chugging.
companies
1600
going to
in no
this one
time,
small
peeps.
company that's been around for over 300
1600
years. You know who
in
it is?
no time.
Tell us, 'cause you
Actually, it might be
Pawn
tougher
E5.
than
Lloyd's of
I
London.
think because
Knight
You know where they're
F3.
located?
it's tough.
Bishop C4.
I think it's
London.
that name.
Knight F6.
London.
Bishop C5.
Now, when the Straits of
Pawn
Hormuz
D6.
closed, Lloyd's of London
Right
did
here,
what?
bad,
They
bad,
sold
bad
all the
boy.
insurance.
Knight BD2.
Yeah, I need to play something like
Castles
A4 or
The next
Could
day,
just play
Congress
that.
comes out and says, "Oh,
Knight F1.
and by the way, to any
Pawn
maritime
A6.
company out there,
Bishop
the United
B3.
States of America will
Pawn
now
A6.
insure you to go through the Straits of Hormuz." And that's when the traffic
Bishop
started
B3.
picking up. Lloyd's of London, within hours, came back and said, "Oh,
Pawn
we
A6.
apologize. Yeah, we will insure everybody that goes through there."
No, Knight F1's okay.
Now,
Well, then what about
Knight F1.
Peter Navarro,
what about
who's an
this?
economist in Trump
Knight
administration,
A5.
he wrote an article a while back about this, and he called it
Pawn
the Iran
B4.
terror premium. And basically,
Knight
what it
captures
is that
C4.
whenever the oil markets are
Pawn captures
skyrocketing
C5.
up, $90 a barrel, $120 a
Knight
barrel,
A5.
it's all about what's called the Iran terror premium. And this is basically Khomeini, the Ayatollah, the IRGC doing something
Pawn
in
D4.
the Middle East
Okay,
that is
cool.
sparking outrage and then threatening the Strait of Hormuz. When they
It's good to
threaten the
know.
Strait of Hormuz, you get a $5 to $15
It's kinda
increase
interesting.
per barrel of oil. And if you mark
Knight
this
A5.
out over the last 30 years,
Pawn B4.
over the last
Knight
30 years,
F1.
if you just look at every time the Iran
Knight
terror
G4.
premium has occurred,
Yep, pop
Pawn
off the
D4.
the
D4.
premium per barrel goes up, and
Pawn
that's
captures
equivalent to
D4.
about $30 trillion
Pawn
over
captures
30
D4.
years.
Bishop
Now, who's the
B4.
benefactor of that? Well, when oil
Bishop
barrel
D2.
prices go up and the threat level in the Middle East
Queen
goes
captures
up,
D2.
does Lloyd's of London increase those insurance premiums?
Pawn B5.
Absolutely, they do. What about
Bishop
the London
D5.
financial
Oh!
bankers, the central bankers who
Hello
are
there,
actually
Dolly.
providing liquidity for
Bishop
corporations
Didn't
around
think
the
of that.
world
Check
to
out this
move
Bishop
B5.
that
D5.
oil?
What's
So
he gonna
people-
do?
D5.
This is a little idea of how the global
Bishop
trade
B7.
infrastructure operates.
Rook
When you have $1 billion
AC1.
of oil that's leaving port
Queen
and it's going to
D7.
go to another foreign nation, the company that's buying
Queen
that
C3.
oil is not paying $1 billion immediately upright
Knight
for that
D8.
billion barrels. They don't have it. Nobody has
Bishop
that level
captures
of liquidity
B7.
to provide that except
Knight
for
captures
banks.
B7.
So what do they do?
E5.
Is they borrow it through the
I wouldn't see
intra-bank
E5. I mean,
structure.
the geometry of that doesn't even make
banking
sense at all to me.
They
What's
take
the deal with
short
E5?
interim loans out at a
Why
percentage
is
interest
E5
rate.
so spectacular?
So
What?
they'll borrow the money from a
Because this
London
knight
bank or
is-
a large financial institution, primarily
At this
based in
point,
London,
by doing that,
Pawn
you're
B5.
threatening this knight because he has
on
no
that
safe
oil
place to
at
go.
$100 a barrel. Now, who controls the majority of the derivatives trade?
I get that. Okay,
Most
that's
of
good to
them are in
know.
New York
But
or
you
Washington.
also have
So
this,
covered
which
Queen
is
captures
fairly
so that I
decisive as well.
And I brought
Where'd
up
this
a
come
link
from?
to read
Okay,
it
okay.
just to make
So
sure
we got
that
all
you
this.
kinda
That's good to
understand,
know.
Rook AC1.
You know,
Learning.
when you're talking
Pawn
BP,
B5.
right? And
Bishop
And then this
captures
other
D2.
stuff I
Wanna read
did
a
was
little
ridiculous.
Bishop D2.
And then definitely, if you want to
Pawn
expand on
B5.
it, you can. You mentioned
Rook
it, but I
AC1.
just want
E5.
everybody's
Oh.
Bishop C2.
Plus 1,
The
Knight
Anglo
G6.
Persian Oil Company,
Pawn
plus
D5.
1.8.
Knight
founded in
G6.
1909.
Yeah,
Pawn E5.
I was feeling E5 at that point, but I didn't understand
British
why.
Industrial and naval power. The British government
Pawn
acquired
captures
a
E5.
50%
Threatening this.
stake in 1914, a sparking long-term tensions
Pawn
over
H5.
revenue, culminating in the 1953 CIA-backed coup against the Iranian Prime Minister
Queen C3.
Mossadegh, following his nationalization
What?
of the oil industry.
Pawn H5.
So I wanted to plug in
Pawn
that little piece.
captures
There's so
E5.
much more to that.
Oh my
that
God,
statement.
we could spend hours
Queen
on
captures
just that.
D2.
We could do a series on
Pawn
just
captures
that.
D2.
But just to make people understand, well, London and BP and Iran, like,
Well, go
He
back
has
to
no way to take
1912
it.
as well.
All right, this
you
is
have
cool.
what's known as the Belfort.
Gosh, this game.
Queen captures
What is
D2.
it? Lord Belford is the
Pawn
one
E5.
who
So instead I
granted
play this.
the
Knight
land of
G6.
Palestine to the Rothschilds,
Pawn D5.
of which that same
Bishop
land
C8.
grant was utilized in
Knight E3.
1948 for the Israel settlement.
Knight captures E3.
In
Bishop
Middle East and
C8.
Palestine. Which
Knight
then
D4
became
is
the settlement
super
of Israel.
strong.
Who were the
Knight
first?
D4.
Let me ask you this: how long were Jews going into that area of
That
Palestine?
lets him
It
pop
started back
off
in
Queen
the
G5.
1870s.
Queen
Did you know that?
G5.
I did know they started that far back.
The first migration in the 20th century
Bishop
of Jews
D1.
into
Weird.
modern day Israel or into Palestine during that time
What?
was
Rook A7.
actually done by the Nazis. The Nazis actually made deals with the Zionists.
Knight
You can find these old
C6.
coins. It's Zionist on one side, Star David
Rook
on one side, and
B7.
Nazi on the other. And they were Zionists who basically
Knight
aligned
A5.
with the Nazis, and they started to exile and migrate out and go into Palestine in the 1930s.
Let's trade these
1930s.
queens off like it says there.
Queen
That
captures
obviously didn't
D2.
turn out too well for them.
Knight
a
captures
few years
D2.
later. But
A7.
when you start to go into the idea of Israel as an establishment, I mean, British intelligence is who trained the
Knight
Mossad
C6.
in its early years of
Rook
formation.
B7.
So, I mean, the
I'm not gonna
connectivity
hop
that
around
goes
all
back,
day.
The Central Intelligence Agency and all of whether it's MK Artichoke,
What is he
MK
saying
Ultra,
that for?
all of the MK programs. I mean, these derived
Rook
in the
B7.
1930s out of the Tavistock Institute.
It's that
which was
good,
ran by
huh?
Colonel Orange,
No,
which
it's
was a British
not.
colonel. I mean,
No more night
back
at
to our
what?
history here. We got to start integrating it back because all
Knight
roads lead
F3.
to London. So,
And
moving forward,
I'm glad we're going here because it's been a couple years for those
Rook
that have listened to
B7.
me on these virtual.
How can
calls
that be
on
that
Pawn
good?
F4.
Not like everybody wants to
Knight
focus.
captures
Knight
F4.
E7 check.
sideburns.
Oh, because it
But
pulls
in
it
the
off
end,
of there, huh?
If you think that's
Knight
where
E7
it ends,
check.
you've missed it. This is always going to take you back to the crown.
King H7.
so
What?
why oil? Why energy? Why is this all about energy?
We got this hanging. Oh yeah, because of
Well,
this.
Knight
actually, let me
captures
go back
C8.
It's not hanging yet.
Rook captures
because I
C8.
didn't finish this. So Lloyd's of
Bishop
London,
captures
right? They were
G4.
So
King
oil
H7.
prices, when the Straits of Hormuz closed down, did what? They skyrocketed. Didn't
Knight captures C8.
Gotta
That
do an
means the
in-between
London
move
Bank
here.
made a lot of money.
Knight E5.
But then something happened, and the oil
Knight
prices
E7.
dropped. First time in history they went up, and then the next day they dropped. Do you know what that
Knight
something was?
FD3.
That was Trump making a statement.
That was
Get
Trump
the fork.
actually having Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, reduce
Bishop
certain
F3.
sanctions on Russia, which freed up hundreds of barrels of oil back into the market. Now, you want to know what's interesting about
Knight
the
C4.
relinquishing of certain sanctions that they did?
Knight
It
B3.
only targeted a certain amount of Russian oil that was seaborne, that was
Rook E8.
seafaring. It was out at sea. Okay?
Knight
Now, this is
C6.
interesting. These were Russian tankers,
Nice.
so they only released the sanctions
Crazy,
on
crazy,
Russian
crazy, crazy.
oil tankers that were currently out at sea.
Pawn captures B2.
You want to know when those oil tankers went out to sea?
Pawn
How long ago,
E5.
brother? Tell me.
Really?
About
Pawn
August
E5.
22nd,
That's crazy.
Pawn captures B2.
2025,
Chess is
the day
crazy, people.
After the Alaska summit, when
Yeah,
Russia
after the
filled
Alaska
up
summit.
through
All
Arctic
right.
LNG, filled up all of these oil tankers and sent them out to sea with no buyers and just left them.
Well, that's
sitting
pretty
out
good for this session. We made 13 rating points or ELO points, up to 15, 12 already. Just in the first couple weeks, we're up 100 points. So, first objective met.
That is pretty. That is pretty fucking slick.
And
Now, people are like, "There's no sign."
hasn't even been 2 weeks.
Really?
Already up
Oh,
100
I
points.
beg to differ.
So
The
probably the next
best
100
one I'm
points
hearing
will
all
take a
day
little
is
longer,
who is
but
providing
that's okay.
strategic satellite imagery and guidance
I'm gonna go
control
do
to
my eye
Iran.
drops,
No,
and
he's
hopefully
not.
my eyes will get a little better. Thank you for tuning in to Blind Chess. And hopefully I won't be blind forever. It's supposed to get better. I don't know. It's still really, really, really bad, but it is getting better. I mean, I literally couldn't see at all, and now I'm cutting through the fog a little bit. So, all right. I'll see. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye.